Hello. Hello out there. Can everybody hear me okay? Leave a note in the chat if you can hear me. I am new to the world of streaming and I am trying OBS for the first time. I know it's probably old hat for all you streamers and gamers and such out there, but let me know if you can hear me. Can you hear this? I don't know. I'll give everybody a second to come in. Frozen Flame, thank you. Thank you for letting me know that you can hear me. Let's see. Yep, seems to be working okay. How's everybody doing? Holding out okay? So yeah, I think the goal is I'll try to do some Q&A, spontaneous. I know there was a lot of good questions in the chat last time that I didn't get a chance to answer because I was focused on the prepared questions and remarks. So if anybody has a question, please drop it in the chat. I'll try to respond. We'll hang out for a few minutes, and then I've got an idea for something different if people are interested. I was going to actually take a look. I haven't revisited the session for my original track, Lax, which came out over a year ago now. And I was going to actually just kind of go through the Logic session and show you some of the different tracks and tricks and things that I included in the song, and why I chose them. And yeah, maybe that'll be interesting. I mean, it's going to be fun for me. Hopefully it'll be fun for you guys too. Looks like we're getting some more people coming in. Great, awesome. I mean, I'm happy to hang out with just a few of you as well, but the more the merrier. This is a telly in my hands. Yes, I did a video for this. This is the Donner telly that I did a review for. I did slap the pickups that came out of the telly that I turned into the Johnny telly. I took those pickups and put them in here. Where did I learn to play, Camilo? I started when I was about 10 years old. I started on guitar, and I had several great teachers over the years. I doubt they're watching this video, but Steve Califati, Nick Esposito. So there's a few teachers that I had that taught me some things, and then the rest was just through listening and playing as much as I could. Yeah, just kind of taking it from there. And then, a lot of the other instruments that I play are mostly self-taught, like drums and bass and piano a little bit. You are curious about the DIY owned. I would love to talk to you more about that. It's a little under wraps at the moment, but I'm actually planning on talking a little bit more about that soon. My day was great, Puck. Thank you for asking. So far, at least. I'm between shows right now, actually. I've been playing with a cover band by the shore by the name of Howl, Tony Amodio in that outfit. And we've got another gig tonight in Avon, New Jersey. So I'm just kind of resting up for that, but it should be fun. My musical background is, it's really just I took lessons, guitar lessons. I've taken some music courses in college, but it's really, I wouldn't say I've studied it professionally. I guess I'm a pro-am or pro-amateur. I just kind of have been doing what I've been doing for a while now, and so just kind of through experience. But I'm always really fascinated to learn more, and that's why I love watching videos from some of the music savants around YouTube, like Adam Neely, Rick Beato, Jacob Collier's nuts. So I just love learning about all the crazy intricacies that are hidden in music, even if I don't use them all the time in my own music or in the music I listen to. But I think it's really cool. How did I do the cool radio sample on the Bridge of Lax? You're gonna find out. Actually, I think I'm gonna try and show that in a few minutes. It was the main, I guess, idea or the hook in Lax is a lot of different tracks were processed using a box that I got a while ago called the Korg Volca sample, which is a really, really awesome sampler that can do some cool stuff, and it's tiny, and I loaded a whole bunch of the tracks of the song through that and messed with them in different ways. Why is disactive the super chat option? I don't know. I guess I need to. Do I need to activate that? I'm really bad and new at this the streaming thing. So I will try to look into that for next time. And yeah, let's see what else. What else am I missing from the test? Greetings from Brazil. Hi, how you doing? A good friend of mine, Lucas Valim, is from Brazil, so big love out to Brazil. Hi, Judah. Sorry, I'm just scrolling up folks that I've missed. Colombia, rock on. I can change from theater mode to default mode. How would I do that? What does that mean? I'm sorry, you guys. I did like half the research to get to where I just figured out a little bit of OBS, and still working on it. Let's see what else. The Donner 100W. Okay, I don't know which one that is, but Donner makes some cool stuff, no doubt. Not you specifically, just anyone. Okay, thanks, Jude. Good to know. Was I ever vocally trained? No, not really. I think I've come a long way vocally. I think when I first started singing, it was just out of necessity of having to sing in a cover band, and I think it took me a while to find my voice and where it lived, and singers like Tom York or folks that I really idolized that that made me want to develop the higher end of my range. Early on, I think I sang a lot of Jimi Hendrix because that's what I was covering in bands or that kind of stuff, bluesy type stuff, which I still enjoy singing. But I think I gravitate a little bit more towards like Tom York's style, and it's really just been like imitation and practice. And I did some musical theater. That's a shocker. In high school and middle school, and I wasn't really like a big drama kid or anything like that. But I guess I did some. I had some folks teaching me like things I should do to sing at that time, but I don't remember. There's like warm-ups and stuff. I probably should remember those. But I play guitar with my teeth. I did my own half-assed impression of that. I did do some behind the teeth and behind the head stuff. It's a fun gimmick. I mean, only Hendrix is the master of that. Really, his showmanship. I can only hope to aspire to that. Do I like noise music or other type of avant-garde music? Kinda. I mean, I think it depends. I think I like some music that's kind of weird at times, but I still need some sort of connection to something interesting, either rhythmically or melodically. So some of the bands that I got into through like hearing more about Radiohead's influences, so like krautrock, like Can, they've got some weird stuff, some tracks I don't really enjoy listening to, but on the most part, like they're really kind of groovy, jammy stuff. I just love the drum beats and that stuff. But really experimental stuff, I don't find myself listening to it that often. I mean, there's some avant-garde classical, some composers that I learned about, Schoenberg and Stockhausen and all that stuff. But I don't find I find myself reaching for Radiohead or something that has melodic beauty in a way. But I don't know. My musical tastes have changed a lot over time, so I'm always open to at least listen to something and see what it's like. Let's see. What's my favorite alternative tuning? I mean, like, it's not that alternative, but I mean, Drop D is pretty great. But it's pretty ubiquitous at this point. From that, I guess, I really like the tuning on like Morning Mr. Magpie. I think that's like drop C, or it's like some weird version of like C, G, C, and then like normal E on top. I think that might be it, because that's also the Twisted Words tuning. Talon, what is your day job? Big fan. Thank you for your work. Thank you, Talon. I think I mentioned this the last stream. I work for a small data services and consulting startup that we work mostly with pharmaceutical companies, and I really got into it more because I was learning coding, so doing some like Python and data science stuff. I find it interesting to kind of mess around with and like make little doohickeys and black boxes out of code that can process data or anything into something else and kind of organize it and shape it. And that's I do this a lot with my hands. So that's why I think about messing with data, and that's why I like the software Pure Data. Bit of a tangent, but from a musical standpoint, I really like, and it's obviously very closely same creator related to Max MSP, which Johnny Greenwood uses. It's graphical audio software, so you can kind of do like almost anything into anything revolving around MIDI or processing, and I use that to create the music video for Lax, which I'll talk about in a second. Which that was using the Gem library. It's sort of a graphical library for Pure Data. Which is pretty cool. So yeah, data and code, and that just kind of relates to what I like to do. And I, obviously enjoy the engineering side of music too, which is kind of relates to what I'll talk about in the production side too. Preferences on where I'd like Radiohead to go with their next album. Anywhere. I mean, I trust their judgment fully and wholeheartedly. I'm so bought in. I mean, they could release crap and I'd probably still think it was great, which is probably bad, but I know they won't. I know it's going to be awesome. So I mean, people have said this, but like if it had some of that energy that The Smile had, because The Smile was really cool and refreshing to see them go a little bit more straight ahead, like which they haven't done since like Hail to the Thief, which is cool. Bjork cover, I've only just like scratched the surface of her stuff. I know her by extension of the Radiohead tracks that are referenced, that reference her, like Unravel, which is obviously a beautiful song, Tom York's favorite. I need to listen to more of her, because I like those albums that people always talk about, like Homogenic. I haven't given them a proper listen yet. Anima covers. There are a few. Check out my good friend Taka, Fluffy Momo, his channel. We did a few on there back around the time that the album came out. So we did, I think we did Impossible Knots, Not the News. We did a cover of Twist. That one I think is on my channel. Yeah, I'd love to do some more. Dawn Chorus, that was also on my channel. How do you get the Radiohead tone? I've done some videos on this. Specifically, there's one called Radiohead Pedalboards Explored. I'll probably do more in the future, and I've kind of done some different investigations into each of the guitarists' tones and playing styles. So definitely do more of those. But it's hard. There is no one tone, so it's kind of hard to answer because there's a lot of different tricks and effects and styles they use, and sometimes less effects and sometimes more. They're really good curators of sound. I do like Muse. I don't think there's any reason to, other than just the humor in it, to prop up a false rivalry between the bands or the fan bases. They serve a completely different role and a different style. I'm not as like into the newest Muse. I think they lost me a little bit after like Second Law, which I really like that album. Then Drones was a little bit silly. The music was great. The lyrics were silly. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, like they're talented musicians, and it's bombastic, and it's kind of like Queen, and it's like operatic, and it's cool. I don't know. It the right time, the right place. It's not the same thing as Radiohead. Just because they both have vocal skills in a similar range doesn't mean they're anyway the same thing. Same goes for Coldplay. I like the early Coldplay stuff a lot, and I think there's a different thing. Do you think a Radiohead member ever saw one of my videos? I both hope and fear that would be the case. It'd be really cool. Like if Ed, was like, hey, I saw your video about how to play like me, and you're wrong in these many ways. And I'm like, yep, you're probably right. I mean, you know best, but you saw it, and that's cool. Trout Mask Replica, yeah. That's when I think of like, I don't know, I think I've listened to snippets of the Captain Beefheart stuff, and I'm like, people really rave about this because of how difficult it is, but I don't know. Maybe I might be missing something, but I didn't jive with it from just my initial. But people say you got to listen to it a whole bunch of times. We'll see. Maybe if I'll just keep listening until I somehow like it. I don't Jack White's newest album, was that the Boarding House Reach, right? Yeah, I thought that was a cool like mix of stuff, you know, cacophonous. That was like one where I wouldn't consider that purely experimental or anything. You know, it still has song forms and, you know, things that are traditional Jack White mixed with kind of eclecticism, which is kind of his bag. I really enjoyed that. And you started a YouTube channel. Good on you, Jacob. I shall follow your career with great interest, as they say in was that Star Wars? Could I play us a quick Radiohead track? I don't even know why I wore the guitar, because I feel like I wouldn't even know like what to play. Yeah, I always do, like when I'm demoing guitars, I freeze up. I probably know like a million songs, and yet I never know which one to play. So maybe if one just kind of crosses my mind. But in a second, I'm going to put this down, and we're gonna take a look at the tracks anyway. So maybe that'll be a better for another session. I know it's sort of clickbait. I'm holding the guitar, but I'm not playing it yet. So, hey Taka, favorite Smashing Pumpkins album. I was probably Siamese Dream. A track came on shuffle in the car the other day, and it's like, yeah, this is a pretty badass album. I mean, obviously Melancholy's epic, and it's big, and there's so many tracks, and some of the big tracks are on Melancholy, but Siamese Dream is probably the first one that I got really into. Do I like King Gizzard and the Lizard King? I think King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard. I do. But I've also kind of lost the plot on them. Not for lack of, for lack of trying. They release so many albums, too many albums all the time. Like they probably just released one in the time it took me to read that. But I think they're cool. I think they have a lot of fun, and it shows in their music, which is cool. Share us what you're listening to in Spotify. I don't actually use Spotify. I'm that much of a dinosaur. I can't figure out streaming. No, I'm just kidding. But I actually use Google Play. What's now called YouTube Music was called Google Play. I forget why I did that. I think I was like using some sort of Google device to stream music outside, so I figured I'll just go with Google and they'll back up my library from iTunes, which is cool. A lot of times I just listen to the stuff that I still have in my iTunes because I love streaming. I love that you can discover artists quickly. Like if somebody says, go listen to this, I can go, through, a link and quickly find a new artist. But a lot of times it's just like the little, I like my little, collection of trinkets of music that I have and that I listen to. So like I recently, I talk a lot. I don't know if I've talked a lot about Krungbin, but, or Krungbin, I don't know if I pronounce it correctly, but I love them, and I just got their second album, which is my favorite, the Con Todo El Mundo, on vinyl, and I got the download card from that, so then that's on my iTunes and in my phone and stuff, so I listen to that a lot. Yeah, let's see, what else? Show my Telecaster. Yeah, I got the camera very much out of frame, but here she is. It's the Donner DTC 10 or 100, DTC 100 or 102, I forget what the number is. Great little guitar for the very cheap price tag. And again, I did change the pickups, but otherwise I kept the same electronics. I just threw some extra resistors on the pots because they were 500K, which is very bright for single coils. I don't know why they did that. I mean, obviously sometimes the pot choices are questionable, but it sounds pretty great. Not that you would. Well, I actually have it going through my little Princeton reverb back there. And I've got a Moore E-Lady chorus pedal or flanger pedal on. Don't ask me why. I've got a very 80s tone today, but that's what's going there. You probably can't hear it too well through the computer mic, but yeah. Let's see. Suggest you an album, Jamie. Well, I would always suggest. I suggest Krungbin to everybody, so I'd probably re-recommend that album. Trying to think of like another album, if anybody likes kind of like roots rock or like it's an old album at this point, and everybody knows about her and how talented she is. But Alabama Shakes, Brittany Howard, Sound and Color. What was that from, like 2015 or something? But I come back to that album every once in a while. Just some really nice, great singing, great guitar playing, great instrumentation. It's almost like Pet Soundsy at time, which I like Pet Sounds. Who doesn't? I feel like my life revolves around that Fred Armisen studio owner joke. Like that's going to be me in 20 years. And like these are the keys that they used on Pet Sounds. Like it's like total music gear nerd talking about classic 60s recordings. So yeah, check out like Sound and Color. I mean, everybody probably knows about it at this point. You should check out. Thank you, Isabel. You should check out Burn Holiday's albums. EP/albums. Most recently, Memento. Available on all streaming services. Burn Holiday, Memento. If you want to hear what my and my friends' musical tastes combined become in our original music, Burn Holiday. Let's see, Sigur Rós. Yeah, I know about them. I know he's a great singer. He does the violin bow guitar thing. I've heard some of their more ambient stuff, and I love ambient music, so that really butters my egg roll. But yeah, I definitely have to listen to some more of their stuff. Let's see, Death Grips. Yeah, I think I talked about this last time. I just haven't listened to a lot, but I respect what they're doing. It's like not. It's just a genre. I don't feel qualified to talk about too much, but I'll have to give it some more listening. Jeff Buckley. I'd love to do a Jeff Buckley cover. That might even stretch the limits, though. Of, what I can sing. He's the king of crazy dynamic range singing. Cocteau Twins. Yeah, that's a good album. I should have recommended that album also. That's one I come back to a lot, often, is Heaven or Las Vegas by the Cocteau Twins. Just beautiful. That's like, I could play like a chorus, like, I forget, that's not the riff, but something like that. It's got delay, so I don't have the delay, but it's got that chorusy sound, major 7th chord kind of thing. Yeah, I will do a second part, pedal boards. I was actually thinking of doing, because I've been messing around with my board. Last time in the live stream, I think I mentioned I am playing with, I have just joined up with the guys in There, the New York City Radiohead tribute. We are hoping to still play August 28th at the Bowery Ballroom, opening up for a Smiths tribute band called the Sons and Heirs. But you guys know things have been a little dicey lately with the COVID situation, so that may end up getting pushed back. We'll have to see, fingers crossed. But anyway, as a process of preparing for that show, I kind of made my ideal Ed O'Brien board, which is sort of an extension of the ideas I talked about in my first video. But there's some cool new stuff in there, so I think it's probably overdue to make a little pedal board exploration. Creep 2021 remix cover. I don't know. Maybe that might be a weird experience to do. Should I cover it at regular speed and then just slow it down, or should I attempt to sing that slowly? I don't know. I can't read sheet music quickly. I mean, I know enough to know the different rhythms and the notes, but like if I just I can't sight read it, and I don't feel as it's faster for me to, when I take notes on stuff I'm learning songs, I'll express them in tabs, and I'll just write little tabs to myself on like index cards. I've got like a million of these sitting around, with different. This actually, I don't even know what's on this. That isn't a tab. Maybe it's a cooking recipe. I don't know. But yeah, I just write little notes to self. I'll usually do it for like drum fills, and I'll keep it by my hi-hat, and I'll look over to figure out like what drum fills I should be doing. Yeah, plural one. Okay, Josh Klinghoffer. I think he's a cool dude. I respected his time in the Chili Peppers. It wasn't as I think I prefer the John era, or the John sound too. But I think he has a style that probably didn't work well for them, but I bet sounds awesome in his own stuff. So I'll have to check that out. I do like the Darkness Taka. We cover I Believe in a Thing Called Love, so that's a fun one to sing in my cover band. But beyond that, I know maybe a couple of their other singles, and I've seen some like live videos. They're pretty funny dudes, and they have some of that just that AC/DC rock energy that is obviously very absent in a lot of modern music. I don't know when the Smile record's coming out, but that recent response by Nigel on Twitter makes me think that not as soon as we would have thought a few weeks ago, which is kind of funny that they totally took him out of context. I'll take it whenever it's ready, and in the meantime, maybe me and Taco will do some more do some more covers from it. I don't know if you guys saw our Skating on the Surface cover. That was fun. That was a long time. It took me a while to get the drums down, and but I think what we finally got, we were super happy with. So definitely check it out. Well, let's see what else. Cover more of the Strokes. Yeah, I actually maybe I want to reach out, see if Lucas wants to do some more Strokes, because we had a lot of fun. We did Bad Decisions and we did an Eternal Summer cover, both from the new record. But I'd love to do maybe some of the old stuff with them, or just in general. Strokes are cool. Yeah. So, Masik, is it possible to do a collab with you? Yeah, I'm here. The main thing that I suffer from is poor time management, so I apologize to anybody who's been like, we should collab, and then I get lost in like a million things, and I forget, and so I will try to do better. I will make that maybe my mid-year New Year's resolution to, if I can collab, if we can do something cool, I'll try to make it happen. Automatic Stop, that's a good song. Yeah, I like that Stroke song. So yeah, I think let me try something here. Okay, let me try. I'm gonna keep the chat going, and I'll try to pluck out questions as I can. But let me try. All right, I'm gonna use this OBS magic and try to share my Logic screen and hopefully audio with you. So let me see what happens here. Boom. Let me know if you can see that, and then I'm going to ask you if you can hear it. So first person in the chat wins a prize. Just kidding. They probably don't win anything, but tell me if you see my Logic screen. Thank you, Alejandra. You're a champ. Okay, cool. All right, second test. Can you hear? Ready? All right, that's a yes as well. The only bad news is there should have been MIDI playing during that point, so I might have to reload it. Let me just check. Okay, the MIDI instruments have failed on me. Give me 1 second. All right, don't save changes. All right, it's going to go away, probably, or disappear or something for a second. Okay, feedback. I thought the feedback would be a problem. I will mute myself when I play audio. So give me 1 second, I'll do that. Yeah, I'm still. This is sort of a work in progress. This is like kind of my first prototype test of doing this. I probably want to get some more tips from my friend Landon Bailey. I know you've seen his channel. He's another YouTuber, Radiohead fan, gear demoer, great guy, and he's given me some pointers on streaming that I'll have to pick some more up on. Okay, so let me just see. Yeah, the color coordinated tracks. I only did that like after the fact, though. Well, I mean, it sort of helps, but let's see. Okay. Okay. Oh, that looks like it responded. Okay, good. It is responding. All right. Let's try it again. Cool. All right, now let me make it so that I can see this window. It's probably going to get small. Apologies. And see the chat so that I can talk about this. All right, cool. So, yeah, so this is my original song, Lax. I think I released it in May of last year. Cool song to me. Definitely like probably the first track that I've ever written or fully produced that did not contain a guitar anywhere. There's not a single guitar on this, which is weird. I guess I was in full, Tom York solo mode at that point, just really into synthesizer sounds and plugins. So there's a lot of Arturia's V collection on this. This is, I think I just kind of gotten that. So a lot of the Prophets and different Moog sounds. The plugins are awesome. They just sound so big and rich, like the real. I assume their genuine article would sound. So let me talk a little bit more. Of course I'm going to talk a little bit more. Let me talk a little bit more about what I mentioned earlier, which is the the Volca sample. So you guys maybe have seen these little Korg boxes. They come in different flavors, you know, samplers and beat boxes and synths and things like that. I own a couple of them. I have the sample and I have the bass, and I actually use both of them on this track. The bass is kind of like a TB-303 bassline synthesizer, and so I use that for that squelchy acid bass kind of breakdown. I guess another key influence, I said Tom York, but really on this song was also Tame Impala. The Slow Rush had come out not long before, and there were some really cool songs like Breathe Deeper that, you know, made use of that sound. And so I was just kind of into combining, you know, some different things that I was hearing and that I thought were interesting. So let me just solo for you the the drum track. So this is the Volca sample. I recorded. I used samples from my MS-20, so my MS-20 Korg synthesizer to make like bass, you know, or kick drums and different things. I can't remember actually which exact samples I used. Probably would have been good if I took notes, but mixed with some actual acoustic samples of my drum kit, you know, for like the stick clicks and things like that, and some shakers, some different, you know, shaker sounds. So let me just play a little bit of that. Let me mute this. Yeah, so that I recorded. I basically, because the Volca only has a single audio out, it's not multi-track out. I basically just soloed the different parts of the beats and recorded them to separate tracks so that I could do processing to each of them individually after the fact. Yeah, that was kind of the genesis, and the genesis of the beat was really, this song started as like an iPad GarageBand sketch back in like 2015 or you know, a while ago, and I just hadn't finished the idea. It was really just like the first 4 bars with the piano and things like in that vein. But so you know, I kind of replicated. It was basically a GarageBand, one of those stock beats that it spits out at you when you use the pattern generator, like give me, you know, complexity and parts involved. And I liked the sound. It had that kind of stop-start with the emphasis on the 3 beats, like the ding, ding, ding. So I kind of imitated that, and I recreated that in the Volca sample. And then on top of that, I'm adding this bass line, which originally also was kind of sequenced in GarageBand to use sort of that 303 type sound, but I redid it. I wrote it in MIDI, and then I played it out and recorded it through my MS-20. So this is the bass line. This is the bass line that comes in that drives the song. So hold on. So it's got that, you know, kind of percussive attack or filter squelch that almost, you know, it doesn't squelch as much as the 303 would. It's a little bit more dampened. I didn't want it to stick out too much from the track, but that kind of in tandem with the kick accents, you know, the don't, and kind of drives the main rhythm of the song. And then I added, like in different parts of the song, there's another bass that comes in, and that's the Moog from the Arturia. So that's this guy. I called it Super Bass because it's basically, it's a mini Moog. Let me open up the plugin. I don't know if that'll actually show. Will that show? Probably not, because it's sharing the window. But anyway, it's Arturia's mini Moog bass. Let me play a little bit of that. So that just kind of comes into accent at different parts of the song, and during the breakdown, it was a really deep sound. That sound to me is most influenced in terms of what I heard that inspired it was those little bass drops, and Taco will know because we were actually doing a cover around that time of the Motherlode off of Tomorrow's Modern Boxes. has that really good, like the dung 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 dung, that kind of sound, that kind of descending bass. So that was in my head as I was thinking about that bass part. And then at well, I won't go to the breakdown yet, but in the breakdown is yet another kind of, it's not even a bass, I kind of use it more as a lead, but it's that 303 type sound from the Volca bass. The breakdown is actually, pretty cool, but let me show you a couple of the other elements of the body of the verse. Or in the intro, there's this buchla, which is a crazy synthesizer. I don't know if you guys know about like West Coast versus East Coast synthesis. So like in the 60s or whenever, the original kind of synthesizers were being developed, there was Moog on the East Coast with kind of the modular synth and, the kind of what we come to expect from subtractive synthesizers, like that basic signal flow of oscillator into filter into envelope, that kind of pretty standard arrangement. And then on the West Coast, there was Don Buchla, who made the Music Easel or different synthesizers that were more, they used different kind of methodologies. They were less traditional subtractive synths. They had a lot of like wave folding and weird routing and weird stuff that, wouldn't follow the same conventions. And they were meant to be more exploratory and, trippy and crazy. And so I took a patch from the Arturia. Arturia has a simulation of a buchla, and I basically just took one that had this kind of random, I wanted some like just random arpeggiated noise, like I really like sequencers that sound too obvious and like, 16th note arpeggiator sounds. I don't really like that as much, so I tried to put some weird timing and just like kind of let it do its thing in the context of the tracks. This is what that sounds like. So, kind of floats underneath, a little polyrhythmic, just kind of doing crazy stuff. That was just a little piece I added. The main thing is the piano chords and the pads. So if I play those. So a couple things going on there. First, I took the chords, and this goes to my off-the-cuff music knowledge. I don't actually even remember which specific chords I was playing, but I had sort of simple chords that I played when I did the original GarageBand sketch on piano, and then I feel like there's some value. There's definitely a lot more value. There's value to knowing what you're doing when you're doing it and what the theory behind it is. But kind of my approach was I wanted those voicings to be more spaced out. I wanted to kind of take out some notes or put them in different places. So a lot of times I'll just have, the MIDI. I can see the MIDI notes of the chord on the screen, and I'll just kind of move stuff into places that sound good. Or I'll have a MIDI keyboard and I'll just play weird inversions, and I don't actually know what they are, but until it sounds cool and doesn't clash with everything else is kind of. So my goal was to kind of weirdify the chords just enough, add some suspensions and things, so it didn't just sound like a straight up progression. So that's kind of was my theory behind building those chords. And then you probably also heard in the second section when the vocals come in, I threw in a tremolo effect on the pads. So the pads have this big noise sweep. And again, those pads were inspired by Twist, because we were also covering Twist at the time. And I loved that big white noise opening sound that goes like whoosh, because I really love ambient music. So, and the stuff that Tom does with Prophets in his own solo work. So I was like, that's a really cool sound, but let me also try to, there's this rhythmic thing going on in the verse, and I want to kind of play up that too and make it more, I don't know, not dancey, but, just kind of have that energy. So I threw a tremolo on, and then I turned the mix of the tremolo up over the course of the chord. So it starts out as a normal chord, and then it starts chopping up, by the second half of it. So it kind of starts shaking, which I thought was a cool effect. And so, that was the kind of things I did to dress up the main chords. once I got to the chorus, there's this arpeggio figure that plays, and I originally did that with a piano, but then I changed it to the Moog sound. I kind of made it kind of like a muted, square, wavy type thing, and I opened up the filter over the course of the progression, so it had some movement to it. I just took the automation and I made the filter sweep change over time. So let's listen to. So also threw some delay on that too to kind of make it wide and spacey. But that was kind of the arpeggio that I kind of came up with just messing around. I think at the time I was using a tiny little Korg Nano key, like a little keyboard, and I just kind of found chords that were close enough together, or notes that were close enough together that I could kind of play that arpeggio. And then let's just see what else. Oh yeah, so this was the idea kind of came to me for the vocal melody. I had the main idea of the something that just kind of keeps ascending over time, and then I had the idea to throw in like a counterpoint choir kind of thing. So this is those vocals soloed. I basically kind of like when you sing in a round and you row your boat and then et cetera, a beat later, I kind of had two of the voices, one of them start a note later, and then therefore it would form a harmony, and kind of I had to figure out what the same contour was down and up to make those notes work. Sorry if I'm just sort of rambling, but my explanation, it's kind of weird to talk about my own stuff, but let's see what it sounds like. So goes river, tiny whirlpools, just ray that's come back. And I tried the the kind of like Beatles backing harmony trick of like you sing some of the words, and try to line it up. Yeah, the Motherlode, I guess, also, right, just kind of inspiration of a mix of different sources, but definitely Thom Yorke solo stuff, especially that song, was in my mind probably as I was making this. So yeah, that was another little cool thing I wanted to throw in there. Let's see. Piano during the verses. Okay, I'll kind of skip ahead. Let me skip ahead to the breakdown in the interest of time. Well, I mean, I could talk about this for a while, but I just want to kind of give you a tour of what was going on. So here's the breakdown, and there's actually there's some cool stuff. I'm big into using, where I can, at least like if you saw the music video that I did for Ryu's Lament, I used kind of footage from a trailer for The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, which is a crazy old German silent film, very early, in film history, and also a really great Portlandia sketch joke about a postal service worker who like enslaves people to the postal service by forcing them to watch this very esoteric German horror film from the early days of cinema. So, but basically the film is so old that it's technically public domain. So I had this idea of like, all right, well, I want to use samples, but I know there's logistics to the, there's the, you could try it and find out version of sampling and clearances and things like that. I was like, let me use some samples of stuff that is out there that's in the public domain that might be cool, that might add a vibe. So I found this recording. It was a radio play recording of a Lovecraft story called the Dunwich Horror, I believe, or the something. To that extent, it was like this weird. I didn't even listen to the whole thing to know what the story was about, but I found enough phrases that I thought were cool that might mesh with the themes of the song, and I kind of plucked those out. And so somebody was asking about like the radio effects or like the crazy stuff. So I took those little vocal snippets, I put them into the Volca sample, and then I added like tremolo to them and different effects. He's got the tremolator on there, and I kind of chopped it and played them at different times and pitched them up and down. So the Volk is really cool for that because you can kind of manipulate how your samples sound and add envelopes to them and chop them up. So this is the sound of that isolated. So this is a Lovecraft from, I think it was called Suspense. It was like a radio play from the 40s. Let me check this.
3 days and 3 nights. 3 days and 3 nights. 1 day and 3 nights. 1 day and 3 nights. 1 day and 3 nights. Yes, hello? Our time is very short. 3 days and 3 nights. Yes, hello? Waiting away. Looking for. There'll be nothing left. Our time is very short. Yes, hello? Our time is very short. Yes, hello? 3 days and 3 nights. Yes, hello?
So, and another point of reference for that, the vocal chop sound, what I was trying to achieve was I was listening to a lot of Boards of Canada at the time, which is also a big Tom York influence, right? They're really cool, early electronic and IDM, I guess if you call it, pioneer. So Boards of Canada are the kings of that found sound voice, through a tape cassette. Thanks. I wanted to get some of that effect, so I lo-fied out the samples and then I chopped them up the best I could. And chopping like both, physically as well as really just that the tremolo effect that you heard kind of going on there, and pulsing. And then here's another thing I stole. So from that radio broadcast, the cool thing about old school radio plays before there was TV is they had that orchestra making the beats for the horror points of the story. So I took the sound of like the orchestral stabs and I slowed them and stretched them out and got them to fit in the key of the song. So if you hear, I play the pads of the chords and I again kind of pick random notes, make some cool like Escherian, repeating, groups of 3. Remember, groups of 3 and 5 and odd progressions are all over Radiohead's music. So that's like an idea I took. I was like, let me make it not be a 4-chord loop. Let me make it a 3-chord loop. So I took some chords and I played them on the Prophet with that cool sound, but then I layered in the orchestra and I kind of found chords that worked over those chords. So let me play you those individually and together. And that's also using, I'll point out, the 10th voicing or the spread out. It's the Tom York, when I talked about in the Tom York guitar video, when he uses those really sparse chord voicings like in Reckoner, he's always using that. It's like it's the root and the third of the chord, but space an octave out, which gives you that really cool minimal. Technical difficulties. Hold on, my MIDI stopped. While that's loading, I guess I'll see. Did I miss anybody miss anything in the chat? Pterodex, hey, what's going on? Okay, I think it's back up. Hold on. Okay, sweet. Oops. Oh, okay. I still have the mic on. Anyway, I hope there wasn't too much feedback for that. But if you guys heard those kind of brass swells, the rule of thumb of, when you slow things down or time stretch, it just sounds cool, right? Like, I mean, like if you take a sound that was recorded, the Beatles were kings of this, right, with tape speed and things that were recorded faster played slow or slower played fast. So I had those big orchestral pads underneath the Prophet sound that I thought made a really cool sound when they were layered together. And then there's that little, which was like one of those little stabs, like when you go to radio break, it's like, in the play. And I took that and threw some delay on it and made it sound like a hit for the song. But then, so all those pieces come together. The bass comes in there, and then this is what comes in during the more frantic part. It starts to get more chaotic. Is this Volca sound. So let me play you that 303. You'll notice if you like Tame Impala and you like Breathe Deeper, very much inspired by that. So there's one other layer underneath there. Again, it was all just like different bits and pieces of ideas that I was chopping and throwing together into the soup. I really just wanted this like big, chaotic, sort of cacophonic, is that a word? Cacophony of sound in the bridge. So I added this drum loop. And so yeah, the Volca bass is over on the right side, panned over that sound. And then on the left side, I threw in another drum beat, and this was using a technique that I used a lot on the handful of songs that I produced for the channel so far, which was to use kind of like lo-fi recordings. A lot of times I use my iPhone microphone, which has a really nice like natural compression or limiting to it when you record loud stuff. So I put it next to my drum set, and I recorded a small drum loop of me playing like a can style krautrock drum beat, like that kind of paradiddle, that kind of thing. So, and then I took that, put it back into the Volca sample as like a fully timed. I basically sliced it so that the whole loop played once, but you could turn on and off different break points in the sample and kind of chop it at different points. And I found that from some other YouTube videos, showed how to kind of time stretch or chop samples. So let me play that sample, and you can hear what I'm doing to it also. So you can hear a lot of different things I was doing. So the little interrupts, a lot of the times were me pressing. So basically I'd pick a different point in the sample, and in real time on the Volca, it's really cool. You can kind of like choose like what active step, like where you are in the sequence, and you kind of bring it to a certain point of the loop. Yeah, DJ Shadow, exactly, like another big influence, like just chopped up, screwy lo-fi beats. I did the kind of Hendrix pan trick where in the middle of that I took the pitch of the sample, like at one point I took the speed at which it was playing back and turned it down, so it takes the snare down, and then I panned it as it was doing that, so it kind of goes across the field and does that. So I was just trying to pull out all the stops and do weird stuff. There's a little bit of the Reckoner beat in there. I don't know if you hear like the do, it's that little turnaround that is in the drum fill from Reckoner, which is kind of cool. But yeah, all the stuff in the breakdown. The breakdown is my favorite part because of all these layers and all the kind of cool stuff that I was able to do. But yeah, I had a lot of fun. And I did a lot of takes, and I kind of spliced a little bit, but, of just messing around in real time. with those boxes, which is cool. Let me see. And then, when we kind of get to the outro of the song, again, coming back to vocal chops, there was one other vocal chop I did, which I took the harmony vocals that I showed you guys earlier, the kind of choral voices doing the counterpoint harmony, and I fed them into Logic. Like, at the time, Logic had just done an update. They were basically trying to be more Ableton-y, and they kind of refined their sampler a little bit. So I used this thing called like the quick sampler. I took a stretch of the vocal, and I put it in there, and then I basically just mapped points of it, like different words, like so, like different parts of it to different keys on the keyboard. And then I took a MIDI randomizer, essentially. Like I said, Logic has some MIDI tools, and I said, all right, play me random notes in this kind of interval, right? And so at that point, it would just basically do a random arpeggiator, pick different points of the sample, and play it back. So that was another kind of chopped vocal sound. So that's in right after we come out of the breakdown. That's this sound. So I'll play it. It's almost some like Laurie Anderson, or in terms of voice as weird instrument thing kind of going on, which is kind of cool. And I also randomized the panning on that too, so I wanted to kind of play with stereo space. So some of the notes hit out of the left, some hit center, some hit right. But yeah, just kind of a kind of cool effect that I was messing around with. And then another element. Okay, another weird element. So I watch a lot of. I'm on YouTube a lot as a creator, but I also just love watching YouTube videos. One of my favorite YouTubers that's sort of like informational or kind of documentarian or short essayist is Tom Scott, who's this British YouTuber who's been around for a long time, and he did a video about the longest reverb sound ever. It's like this big I don't know if it's what the tunnel was originally built for, somewhere in the UK, on this big chamber. And they had somebody fire a gun in the chamber, and they recorded the sound for the video. So I sampled the video, and I kind of put extra reverb just to add to. There's the point where the drum hits coming out of the break, where the da 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 pa, and it goes back into the other section of the song. So I wanted something else to draw out that. So I took the world's longest echo. So this is the sample. This is that sample. Yeah, I don't know if it was a drain. I forget what the chamber was originally built for, but so yeah. Oh, anyway, let me hold on one sec. Let me get a better. I don't know if you guys can see, it goes on for like 30 seconds. So I put some automation on. I just tucked it under the rest of the regular snare reverb, and just kind of built it into part of the sound. But I just thought that was a cool little thing to add. And then I also added this rain sound effect from an ARP, and it's really low in the mix. Let me turn the volume up a little. So I just found that mix of white noise from the rain sound effect and the echo. I don't know. I find white noise very soothing. I like to sleep with white noise. I love, kind of that ambient sound. It's just a really calming effect, and so kind of fit in the idea of rain too. I know there's a lyric earlier in the song that says "Tears in the Rain," which I'm a big Blade Runner fan. I've talked about this a lot, so there was kind of that. Just I was listening for different influences and ideas to kind of throw at the song, and so that rain is tucked way under, but it just kind of helps with that. The big thunderstorm of the bridge, and then it erupts into kind of the calming the rain at the end of the song. So that was a fun little part as well too. Yeah. Anyway, I mean that's most of the stuff from the song. Let me switch back here. Yeah, so I figured I didn't prepare for that. I just kind of wanted to go willy-nilly from track to track. Maybe I'll discuss more like that, or do other of my songs, or other songs just kind of break down, like I did one for Dex Dark at one point, breaking down the mixing or whatever. But I really enjoy going through these tracks and doing track breakdowns. So if there's more that you'd like to see, either from my songs or other songs that I've covered, I'd be happy to do that. If anyone else has any other questions, I could stick around. Yeah, you want me to play the whole song once? I mean, I can definitely do that. Let me see. 1 second. All right, so you've all heard the bits and pieces. Now, without further ado, here is all of Lax. 1 second. And I'll try to leave the full track screen up so you can just see like what's happening when. And if you have any questions, let me know. You So yeah, that was Lax. Um, yeah, overall, I'm really happy with the song. I think of the songs that I've done, at least for this channel so far. I think I'm the proudest of that one, just in terms of being able to kind of mix things and make it feel coherent, even though it does sound a lot different. Like from some of the other things that I've done, there are a few in terms of where I do use a guitar, do things, try to do things quasi more traditionally or mix of influences, but yeah, I just had a lot of fun making it. It took a while, but when I was done, I felt like it accurately conveyed what was in my head at the time that I, kind of envisioned the song. Because every song writer knows that there's always kind of an ideal of where it is, somewhere deep back in the, back of your mind. And then when you're finally done, it's either a somewhat accurate representation of that, a picture of a picture, or it's kind of what you were going for. And so I think that one was definitely the way I heard it in my head. So I'm really happy with it. But thank you for bearing with me, just kind of talking about it, and hopefully this was somewhat interesting to you. Maybe definitely more than just to me, but yeah. So yeah, maybe I'll answer a couple more questions and then I'll peace out. It's been an hour, and I'll chill for a little bit, get ready for the next gig. But you guys have been great in the chat, and it's awesome to hang out like this. So definitely we'll do more of these in the future. Where does the songwriting idea come from? Built like a riff. Yeah, usually it's small snippets. Usually like those songs, and actually a couple of the other songs from that kind of era. So From Ashes was a similar one where it was just like an iPad GarageBand. I had the MIDI loop of something, be it a piano chord progression or a little drum machine drum beat, or a mix of the two, and I just wanted to expand that further. But a lot of times it comes from guitar riffs, because yes, guitar is my primary instrument, so if I'm fooling around. Judah, I do like Sonic Youth. My favorite is Rather Ripped, in terms of albums, just because the melodic... I mean, they're an experimental band too, but they have a really great melodicism and rhythmic sense on that album. I've listened to some of their other stuff, Goo and Daydream Nation and all that stuff, but I really like Rather Ripped. What was I saying? So yeah, anyway, guitar, is where I usually write from for a lot of the other songs. Into the songs that I write with Burn Holiday, obviously they're more guitar driven. So it's usually like it's a riff or something when I'm just fooling around and I just need to develop that further. But yeah, I mean, it comes. I try the best I can. It's hard sometimes to be like, all right, now I need to be in songwriting mode and I need to go like think of some ideas. The problem is I have some ideas percolating. For example, one right now that's similar to Lax in a lot of ways, at least instrumentation or vibe wise, and it's been percolating for way too long. It's where it's like, but every time I come back to it, I'm like, well, now I'm just trying to make it work. Like, there's something about that, the ethereal nature of that spontaneous creativity, which was with me at the time that I was finishing Lax, and it's not, not saying it's not with me now, but I get stuck, and I'm in a little bit of analysis paralysis with that song. So I'm doing the best I can to try. And I just recently had a couple ideas that I think I might want to try out that might take it somewhere, and we'll see. Yeah, I mean, it's I always try to keep myself as open as I can. Like, when the inspiration strikes, I want to be ready. And obviously, I get busy with a lot of things. Doing the cover band scene and doing the covers that I do, which are also a ton of fun, but they take some time to work on. So maybe I will make it a mission, sometime in the near future to devote a little bit more dedicated time. Maybe take a little channel break for a week or two, and come back, with some more original songs. Because, the point of everything I do, and people ask me this a lot in terms of the covers, trying to be so faithful with the covers and spending a lot of time and energy on someone who I will, as much as I admire, will never be, and the goal is not to be Radiohead or Tom York. But I hope what was clear from this example with Lax is, like, I try to take the best snippets of what I find interesting in those songs or sounds and put them into a context where they hopefully still sound like my own without, while also being, where that reference comes from. Sort of in a way that I like Tarantino movies, and that they're very referential to people that are movie geeks and that know that this scene was an imitation or, an homage to this scene from this classic movie. I want to make songs that still sound like my song, but you can hear the influences kind of out in the open if you're looking for them. So yeah. I would love, yeah, Burn Holiday. We'd love to come out to Columbia and play some shows. Hopefully we're going to play some more shows in the coming months. We did a show last month local to us in Jersey, in Princeton. We had a lot of fun. It was just a nice Saturday. It was super hot, but we had a lot of fun playing that. So we're gonna definitely try to find some more opportunities to play, at least stateside for the time being, and then if we ever do an international tour, I will keep Columbia in mind. Yeah, in terms of mastering and producing, a lot of just watching YouTube and experimenting and having friends that did some mixing or engineering teach me some tricks. I'm always kind of tweaking what I do in terms of like the signal chain or plugins that I use or how I use them, but the basic principles I've garnered over time from watching YouTube channels and web searching, like how should I do this, what's the best practice, because I mean, with music and mixing, there's a lot of creativity that comes into it too, which is cool. So it's not always the same thing, the same people, in terms of how they mix and how they master. But the comfort level will come. I mean, DAWs can be intimidating. I think Logic's workflow is pretty good, but there's still you have to get comfortable, and so sometimes it helps to just limit your choices to a few plugins, even if they're stock plugins. And just figure out how they work and like turn every knob and see what it does, and then figure out what's reasonable and what's musical to use. In terms of Lax and upcoming albums, so I've got these five songs at this point. It's Marionette, From Ashes, Lax, and then Ryu's Lament, and The End, or Birds of Prey. Those five I kind of thought of in a thematic connect. They sort of have a loose thematic connection. They have some sonic connections, not totally. So maybe I don't know if it's redundant at this point. They've all come out through streaming services individually, but maybe as an EP, or maybe extended into something like an LP of some of these ideas. Because again, like I said, I have at least one more Lax adjacent idea in the hopper, and probably a few more guitar instrumental ideas. Thank you, Isabel. But yeah, I'm hoping to do more, because, and if you guys are interested, you guys are very supportive, and I can't thank you enough for that. I'm glad you guys like them. Again, I make them to make them, and it's fun for me to do it, but to hear you guys provide this feedback and support is really awesome. So I'm definitely encouraged to work on some more of that, in addition to the stuff that I also do that you guys hopefully like, which is the covers and instructional stuff. I like doing all of it. It's hard to just focus on all at the same time. Sometimes I have to be in one mode or another. If you were to write the soundtrack to someone else's project, what kind of project? Movie, show, or video game? I mean, like, all three would be cool. I love all three things so much: movies, TV, video games. I mean, in my head, it's probably a movie, because I think in terms of cinematic references a lot, and in terms of things that are important to me, like composers, like Morricone. So yeah, a lot of in my head, Theme for an Imaginary Western, that's actually somebody else's song. It was that, I forget who it was, that Mountain, who did the Theme for an Imaginary Western. That's kind of like my, and that was what The End was, right? It was like my fake attempt at a, kind of like pseudo spaghetti Western, pseudo Portishead, type thing. So I'd love to, I'd love to connect ideas into like a movie type, format. That would be really cool, but it's daunting to me, because I can only think in small bites, which I know is the answer to how those things actually get done, but at the same time I can only think like one song at a time for the time being, which is why it's sort of been this kind of grab bag EP type approach. Hey Radioactive, thanks for making it. No worries. Great to see you here. Yeah, and Mr. Alex G, I'm well. Thanks for asking. So yeah, sure, keep me in mind. Thank you. Yeah, all right, I think I'm gonna head out now. This has been really fun. You guys have a great rest of your Saturday afternoon. Be safe, be well. Big love to you all, and take care, and I'll talk to you guys again soon. All right, peace out.